Your college roommate just bought a house. He's 23 years old. You have absolutely no idea how. Your cousin, the one who failed 2 semesters, the one everyone in the family worried about, is somehow traveling through Southeast Asia right now, posting photos every other day like it's nothing. That guy from high school, the one who definitely did not read books, who barely showed up to class, just announced his second business. His second one. And you wake up early. You show up. You work hard. You do what you're supposed to do. You make responsible decisions. You don't spend money you don't have. You're doing everything right. And you still feel like you're falling behind. Not a little behind. Completely behind. Like everyone got a memo you didn't receive. Like the game started and someone forgot to tell you the rules had changed. Almost everyone your age feels this. But almost nobody says it out loud because it feels embarrassing. It feels like jealousy. It feels like you're admitting that you're failing at something you're not even sure you understand, so people keep it to themselves and just scroll through Instagram feeling quietly terrible about their own life. But here's what I want you to understand before anything else. This feeling, this specific feeling that everyone is moving forward and you're standing still, it's not a weakness. It's not a character flaw. It's not evidence that you're doing something wrong. It's information. And today I'm going to show you exactly what it's pointing at. Picture a conveyor belt, like the long flat ones you walk on at airports to get between terminals faster. Now picture 2 people on it. Person A is walking on the belt. Person B is walking on regular ground, right next to it. Same stride, same pace, same level of effort. From a distance, they look completely identical. They're both just walking. But person A is covering 3 times the distance. And person B keeps looking over, confused, frustrated, thinking we're doing the same thing. Why does he keep getting further ahead? Am I walking wrong? Should I be walking faster? What am I missing? And the answer has nothing to do with how they're walking. The answer is that one of them has something underneath them that the other one doesn't. The belt is doing extra work, silently, invisibly, without any additional effort from the person standing on it. This is the image I'm going to keep coming back to, because it explains almost everything about why some people seem to be accelerating through life while you feel like you're grinding and getting nowhere. Most people, when they see someone getting ahead, assume it's about talent or intelligence or discipline or some special drive they were born with. And sometimes that's true, but most of the time, that's not actually what's happening. What's happening is that their floor is different. Something underneath them is moving, and you can't see it from where you're standing. Now let's talk about what makes the floor different, because this is where it gets interesting. Some of it is obvious. Family money, a network that opens doors, a parent who made a phone call, an inheritance that became a down payment. We all know this exists, even if we don't like to say it out loud. But here's the thing, the conveyor belt isn't always financial, and it's not always inherited. Sometimes it's something that was built, sometimes it's something you can actually step onto yourself, and understanding that is the whole point of this video. But before we get there, we need to talk about the thing that makes all of this so much harder to see clearly. We need to talk about what social media is actually doing to your perception of reality. Social media doesn't show you people on conveyor belts. That would be boring. Nobody posts a video of themselves passively accumulating. Nobody makes content about the slow, quiet, invisible work that actually builds a life, that doesn't get views, that doesn't get likes. Social media shows you people jumping, the highest point, the moment of arrival, the result completely detached from the process that created it. The guy posting about his successful business, you see the announcement, you see the revenue screenshots, you see the lifestyle, you don't see the 2 years he spent failing, you don't see the debt he took on. You don't see the 3 completely different business ideas that didn't work before this one did. You see the highlight, just the highlight. The girl traveling through Bali, staying at beautiful places, looking completely free. You see the photos. You don't see the financial support from her family. You don't see the credit card debt. You don't see what happens when she gets back home with no savings and no plan. Your friend who bought an apartment at 23, you see the keys. You see the Instagram post in front of the building. You don't see the 60,000 euros his grandparents gifted him. You don't see the cosigner, you don't see the full picture, ever, because nobody shows you the full picture. And your brain, your very human, very normal brain, doesn't ask for the balance sheet before making a judgment. It just compares, automatically, instantly. It takes your entire inner life, every doubt, every struggle, every slow day, every moment of uncertainty, and it compares that to their best, most curated, most carefully selected outer moments. And then it tells you that you're losing This has a name in psychology. It's called relative deprivation, and it has been studied for decades because of how powerfully it distorts human behavior. The research is consistent. The more you compare yourself to others, the worse your decision-making becomes. Because you stop thinking about what's actually right for your situation, and you start making moves based on the gap you're trying to close. A gap that, in most cases, isn't even real. Now here's the part that nobody talks about, and I think this is the most important thing in this entire video. You were taught by school, by your parents, by society in general that life follows a certain logic. You study hard, you get a degree, you find a good job, you work your way up, and eventually things work out. Do the right things in the right order, and the system rewards you. That was the promise. But that promise was built for a different world, and the world changed faster than the promise did. The world you inherited, the one you're actually living in right now, is genuinely different from the one that promise was designed for. And this isn't a political opinion. It's just arithmetic. Rent has increased by 60, 70, 80% in major cities over the last decade. Entry-level salaries have not kept pace. A university degree costs dramatically more than it did 20 years ago, and often opens fewer doors than it used to. The traditional path, the reliable, linear, do-everything-right path, is producing worse outcomes than it did for previous generations, doing exactly the same thing. And at the same time, your phone is showing you people your age who seem to have bypassed all of that entirely, who seem to be winning in ways that don't follow any path you were ever shown. That combination, a system that's delivering less than it promised, and a constant feed of peers who appear to be thriving, is almost perfectly engineered to make you feel exactly the way you're feeling right now. Confused, behind, like you're doing something wrong. But you're not doing something wrong. You're having a rational, emotional response to a genuinely difficult and disorienting situation. The problem isn't your effort. The problem isn't your attitude. The problem is that you've been optimizing for a system that no longer fully works without anyone clearly telling you that, while simultaneously being shown highlight reels of people who seem to have found something else. So what do you actually do about it? The first thing, and this is harder than it sounds, is to stop measuring your progress against other people's timelines. I know you've heard some version of this before, but I want you to hear it differently. This isn't about positivity. This isn't about being happy with where you are. This is about information quality. When you compare yourself to someone else, you are working with bad data. You're comparing your point A, which you know intimately, with all its complexity and difficulty, to their point B, which you're seeing from the outside, stripped of all context. That comparison tells you almost nothing useful. The only comparison that gives you actual signal is you today versus you 6 months ago. Are you moving? In what direction? At what pace? That's the only data that matters. The second thing is to start understanding what the conveyor belt actually looks like for someone at your stage. Because it doesn't always look like money. It doesn't always look like inheritance or a family network. Sometimes the belt is a skill, a specific, rare, valuable skill that you spend 2 years building while everyone around you is doing easier things. At first, it looks like sacrifice, like you're falling even further behind. And then one day it starts compounding, and suddenly you're covering more distance than people who seemed way ahead of you. Sometimes the belt is a reputation, something you build through consistency, through quality, through showing up in the same place, doing good work for long enough that people start sending opportunities to you instead of you chasing them. That's a belt. It's quiet, it takes time to build, but once it's running, it runs without you having to do extra. Sometimes the belt is a relationship. One person who believes in your work and introduces you to 2 other people. And suddenly you have access to information, to opportunities, to doors that don't officially exist that you would never have found by yourself. Relationships compound too. They're one of the most powerful belts that exist, and most people completely neglect them because they don't produce immediate, visible results. The third thing, and this might be the hardest one to actually internalize, is to accept that real, meaningful progress is almost always invisible while it's happening. The conveyor belt is quiet by design. You don't feel it moving beneath you most of the time. You just walk, and you do the work, and for a long time it looks like nothing is happening. And then one day the distance becomes undeniable, but you only see that in retrospect. While you're in it, it just feels like grinding. This is why consistency is so much more powerful than intensity. Everyone can go hard for 2 weeks. Almost nobody can show up quietly, without external validation, without visible results, for 2 years. The people who can do that are the ones who build something real. Not because they're more talented, because they stopped needing the progress to be visible in order to keep going. Everyone seems ahead of you right now, Some of them genuinely are, and they're standing on a belt you can't see. Some of them are not ahead at all. You're just watching the best 5% of their life on a 4-inch screen and calling it reality. And you're somewhere in the middle of building something. Maybe it doesn't look like much right now. Maybe the distance you've covered isn't visible to anyone yet, including yourself. Maybe in 2 years, someone will look at your life the same way you're looking at other people's right now, with confusion, with admiration, wondering how you did it. The question is not whether you're behind. The question is whether you're building something that actually means something to you, something real, something that compounds. If you are, keep going, quietly, consistently, without needing it to look impressive yet. If you're not, then that's not a failure, that's just information. And now you know where to start.